the ultimate seduction in life should be your work, and that's what I believe in. You need to invest in your brand, because in the long run, what it allows you to do is it allows you to lower your costs, not depend on paid media. I'd love to say that the opportunity is there. There's a big opportunity in the space. You need to invest in yourself so that when you decide to get into the market, you're buyable, for the lack of a better word. Invest in trainings, certifications, just bring in that knowledge, because every single day there's a new thing coming up.
Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the My Tech Story Africa podcast. My name is Alice Kandejo, your lovely host, and today I am joined by Brian Abel from Welcome Tomorrow. I'll give him the chance to introduce himself after I've given you the reminder to subscribe from wherever you're listening from, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, or any of the major listening platforms. Check out our new website, built in partnership with your vision, at mtsafrica.co. It's beautiful, it's amazing. I am biased, but it is absolutely phenomenal work that we've done there. So make sure you check it out. And finally, follow My Tech Story Africa on all the socials at My Tech Story Africa. And now let's get into the episode of the day. Brian, thank you so much for honoring my invite to be on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Alice, for having me.
Yes, maybe you can give our audience a quick introduction to who you are and what you do.
Yeah, cool. Hi everyone, my name is Brian. I am the head of growth at Welcome Tomorrow. We are a growth partner, essentially working with ambitious brands on the continent to be able to localize advanced growth marketing techniques for them. My background is in, I have a mixture of commercial and marketing, representing brands like Twitter, Snapchat, Spotify, TikTok, a little bit of Yahoo, at a company that was previously called Dynamo, now called Aleph. I used to run their operations across East and West Africa, majorly in Kenya and Nigeria. And then I moved over to Welcome Tomorrow, where we are now building this. And currently working with ambitious brands on the continent, East, West, and South Africa now. With teams majorly across the globe, because from where we sit, we don't really discriminate based on talent. We believe that talent can be found anywhere. So we have a diverse team across the continent that we work with alongside the brands that we collaborate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe we can get now a bit deeper into your story. Tell us where it all began. Did you know that you wanted to be in marketing growing up, or did you have a different career path and ended up in this section of the world? What's your story?
Yeah, I mean, look, marketing was probably the last thing I thought about doing, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I was more interested, I was actually quite interested to be an accountant. I'm a trained accountant at that. But as I was undergoing my training, I spent some time at the US Embassy here in Nairobi. Mm-hmm. And I worked quite closely with the Foreign Commercial Service Office. And our work then was a little bit of public policy, but also helping up American companies to set up here. And through that journey, I ended up being or assisting a company called Weber Shandwick, which was then the second largest PR firm in the world, to set up presence here. Met their president, who was actually then serving on President Obama's advisory council on doing business in Africa. And he talked a lot about the digital space, about data. And because I'm a numbers guy by extension, it seemed quite interesting for me. Had further conversations with part of the team that was there. And I was like, I think this is something I really want to pursue. Fast forward, less than a year later, I ended up at a Dynamo, which is now rebranded to Aleph as a holding across the world. Working specifically on Twitter and with small advertisers on the continent. Mm-hmm. So I was helping them with strategies and sort of how to execute them on the platform specifically when it was known as Twitter. Grew through the ranks.
Sorry to cut you short. Could you just clarify what you mean by working on those brands?
Yeah.
Like, what would that entail? Like advertising or what?
From an advertising point of view, essentially it's helping them to craft their digital strategies, digital advertising strategies on the platform. So if you are launching a new brand or even launching just a campaign in general, how would you do that? What nuances does Twitter in Kenya versus Nigeria have? How do you align the relevance of your brand to the relevance of the platform? If it's a cultural, if you're looking for cultural relevance, how do you also tie to that? Which is also a topic I'm still quite passionate about. So essentially working with these brands to help them do that. So did everyone from, small brands like I remember working on Kenya Girl Guides Association
Wow.
here in Kenya, all the way to your Coca-Colas. I worked with Coca-Colas and it's a big bank in Nigeria, Diageo, that EABL is part of across East and West Africa. Yeah, so we are collaborating with these brands essentially. And it was an interesting time because you have access to global knowledge. So for example, I worked quite closely with a brand like Samsung. And so if Samsung was doing a launch, it was obviously coordinated all the way from HQ. And so even our teams, or rather the teams that at Twitter directly that were working with them, would give us those insights and get access to that. And just being able to help bring those world-class standards locally was a big thing that I was being part of, and pretty exciting to be honest. Yeah.
Sounds very exciting, and it seems that even if marketing wasn't where you envisioned yourself being, it seems like you were able to adapt pretty quickly and rise up the rankings. And I would presume that this was post uni that you ended up getting the opportunities.
Yeah. Post uni. When I was at the embassy, I was still in uni at Strath. So immediately I left. I got lucky enough and I had the opportunity there waiting for me. I did my interviews. I was still in school, so literally by the time it was hitting February, just after finishing school, I was straight.
You were already doing it.
Yeah.
And maybe what I want to get out of this is perhaps how you were able to, what qualities or what is it that about you that you were able to get those opportunities earlier on while you were still in uni, and also not just get the opportunity but maintain it and run with it to get to where you are now. I know a lot of uni students, sometimes they say you have this 1 year that you're kind of trying to figure things out, but it seems like it was different for you, and I just curious to know about how that went.
Yeah, look, I think I'd say two things. One is work ethic. Because I think for me, growing up, that's something I learned quite early, and learned it from my parents, to be honest. They're pretty hardworking people, and so it's something I still believe in till now, that my work always has to speak for me. There's a quote that I still live by, pinned on my Twitter, my ex account till now, that the ultimate seduction in life should be your work, and that's what I believe in. So that's a big pillar that helped me to grow through the ranks, because I started as a junior, to be honest, but in less than, according to senior management, when I was 25, 26, managing people who were way older than me, and I had my own style of leadership, and till now we're still quite close and we still collaborate on a lot of things. So that's the first thing, the work ethic. And then the second, I think, is just being prepared and being ready always. Being able to pivot away from accounting, which is something I was very passionate about, still am, because from a commercial point of view, I'm very commercial driven and minded, being able to help businesses transform, not just from a marketing point of view, but also commercially, that it has to have an impact. So it's just not about fluff, happy, creative campaigns, but how does it drive the bottom line? And that's actually our basis at Welcome Tomorrow, because before we speak marketing, we speak business.
Of course.
So being ready to just pivot, I think for me was a big thing, and being able to find my space. I was very, I've always had a beginner's mindset where I'm willing to learn and unlearn. And so getting into a space, as much as, you have all this experience, or you have been part of all this, big initiatives, how can you almost make yourself look like a junior and start all over again.
Yeah.
Is something that I also have very big belief in. Yeah.
You seem to have been doing well within your career. I want to now get into why you decided to make the change and start Welcome Tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, look, I spent about 5 years at Aleph, now called Aleph. And I just felt like it was a time to move. I had done quite a lot. I had set up an office in Lagos, Nigeria. I'd lived in Lagos for some time, despite being Kenyan. I had come back to Kenya and I was looking also after a team here. The next step for me was either sort of getting into a regional role, actually a continental role, not regional, because I'd had experience in East and West Africa leading the business. So I was looking for something continental. And I mean, the business grew, it became a corporate, and it's a big business now. I mean, it's in literally all the continents. They have amazing teams across all these regions. It became a big business. And for me, I'm very nimble and I enjoy the rush of building. And that's what I wanted. And so a very good friend of mine, Maxime, who's the founder at Welcome Tomorrow, we got connected through a mutual friend who was actually a client of mine at Aleph, who just sort of seen the work that I'd done with them and built their business, and was like, look, if you ever get into Africa and you're looking for someone to speak to this guy. So we spoke a couple of times, and after a while I was like, look, I think this is something I definitely want to pursue. And so yeah, it's taking a risk to go back to building, but again, it's been fulfilling, it's exciting. Growing the business, we started, we just had presence in Cape Town. We now have a presence here in Nairobi. We have a team in Nairobi. We are looking into other locations, probably Nigeria being a big one, because we're already working with clients in Nigeria, which is a exciting thing for us, and working actually with quite big brands there, one of the largest banks. And then we believe we are still scratching the surface from an African point of view. We've not tapped into South Africa as much as we want. We've not tapped into West Africa as much as we want. Even within East Africa, we're still baby steps. We also believe there's a big opportunity to move into emerging markets outside of Africa. And so yeah, slowly by slowly, we're building it block by block. And yeah, so far it's been exciting.
Would you say that your Welcome Tomorrow's approach to marketing, or just the approach to marketing while you were employed versus what you guys are applying in Welcome Tomorrow, had something a part to play in that decision? And what is it that is different about how you guys do it?
Yeah, I think they're quite connected because, at Aleph, you're working with global brands. Or rather, you're getting access to these global strategies, and then bringing them locally. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing at Welcome Tomorrow. We're looking for this advanced growth marketing techniques and bringing them to the continent, because we believe that they tend to be done outside the continent and they come to the continent last.
Yes.
And we're trying to accelerate that. So I think they're pretty much connected. So yeah, that's where I've ended up, and it's been exciting so far as we're building it.
So just to clarify, the services that you provide, could you just elaborate on that?
So I'd look at it as growth as a pillar, and when we look at growth for us, it is on three major buckets. We look at everything data and measurement. So we help brands to build their tech stack to ensure that they have the best. They're able to take advantage of their first-party data, and they're able to have a robust, future-proof measurement in place that allows you that each time you decide to spend a buck somewhere, now from a media point of view, you know where it's going, you know the impact it has, and you can attribute it back to a specific, to a specific campaign or a specific initiative that you had. So data is a big pillar. And then the next one is performance, where everything media sits in, organic and paid. whether it is running campaigns on major platforms like Google and Meta, or it's crafting your organic strategies from an SEO point of view, ASO point of view, which tends now to be for SEO for apps. We are even deep now into building what we call AEO, which is answer engine optimization. So how do you do SEO for AI? Because now search is changing and people are now moving to Perplexity, ChatGPT, and all this AI models to ask for questions essentially from an advertising point of view, from marketing point of view. So performance, and then finally content. Content is everything creative. We have a very unique creative strategy process. I think there was an era in advertising it's the madmen era, where this amazing creative director with a good idea builds this campaign, it's put up on billboards everywhere, and it sort of has to work. But what our strategy and how we build our creatives, we infuse science into it. So there's a lot of data. It's a very unique process. We just don't design because we have a feeling that this is the best idea. We design, or our teams are getting to design because they know the data speaks that this is an angle that the audience wants to see, and this is an angle that is performing, because it has to bring back value to the customer. So we look at scaling, what we call scaling winning ads, and a winning ad being a concept that delivers a minimum of 20 conversions at a desired cost per acquisition. So if that's your if this is my cost per acquisition and I'm already getting conversions based on this creative, why don't we, instead of building something new, iterate on that creative and you try different angles. So that's content, and that's why we have creative strategy. We do a lot with UGC, or what we call CGC, so creator-generated content, where we partner with content creators across the continent and connect them to brands to build amazing content about the brand that the brand owns. So the brand builds its own story, essentially.
Okay, and my next question is now tailored towards, I want us to direct it more towards tech marketing. It being a tech podcast, I know that is what primarily people are more keen on getting to know. I know we have a lot of founders, ecosystem players that are building as well every single day. But would you say that the strategies that are implemented in tech marketing could be somewhat different than regular marketing? And two, I do know that your events are tailored towards mobile marketing. So I just wanted you to give us a rundown on that.
Yeah. From a tech marketing point of view, I think you can't approach it the way an FMCG would approach it. Or how traditional big companies would approach it. You have a tech product, it's tech fast, and so you need as much data as possible. And in the world we're getting into right now, privacy issues, you need to be able to take advantage of your first party data. And so one of the things that is, I think, very key when it comes to tech marketing is measurement. And so how do you build a tech stack that allows you to activate your first party data? Beyond building the tech stack, I think one of the biggest pitfalls that founders get into is not factoring in their digital maturity when building in the tech stack. What do I mean? You find a brand that, let's say you've raised funds or you have access to all this budget, and you you get excited by the toys and you start building a very advanced tech stack that if you were to calculate the ROI from it, considering the lifetime value of the customers and mostly in an African ecosystem, the maths
It doesn't
add up. And so that's something we are very passionate about from a digital maturity assessment point of view, something we want to build actually, and to work with brands to take them on a digital transformation journey. So what's my level of maturity now? What problems am I currently facing? Where do I want to go? How do I get there? And how do I build on my own digital maturity so that I can keep investing in a tech stack that is relevant to me? So you don't have, and what we normally say is you don't end up buying a Ferrari and driving it on gear 2. Doesn't make sense. You want the speed and thrill of a Ferrari, sorry. So that is in regards to tech. And then, for our events, we're passionate about building a community in the growth space. And that's why we do the events that we do. They tend to be either in Cape Town, Joburg, Nairobi, or Lagos as of now. And we essentially just bring in industry leaders, we bring in the growth community, and just have conversations about the industry. Putting people together to share their experiences and to learn from each other on what they're doing differently. We also share from our side because we are privileged enough to work with some amazing brands on the continent, and we believe we would love to democratize some of the work that we do. So we also do share some nuggets from our own perspective on how we foresee and how we see growth, not just for the big brands, but also if I'm an upcoming brand that I've just found product market fit, how can I make my journey less painful than in a scenario where you probably wouldn't have access to that information. Yeah.
Okay. I think I have two dissonances that I'm based on just hearing what you're saying and from my a marketer's perspective, being a marketer myself. And the first one being, I know the importance of tracking and data in making the decisions to whatever campaign that you're doing. What is your opinion on PR or things that are more difficult to measure impact? For example, you could say that you're doing an influencer campaign. I don't know if this is the best one, but you do an influencer campaign and then there's a link that they use to track, to monitor whether
the performance of the
performance.
influencer. Yeah.
Thank you. The performance. But there's also instances where there are people who won't click the link, but when you go out there, when you interact with people, oh yes, I saw you on social media, we're able to do this, or they were influenced, even if it was the influencer's work, but you can't really track that it was them.
Yeah.
So, or maybe a billboard, for example, how would you be able to measure the impact of that? So my question is around marketing that I sometimes find a bit difficult to accurately measure the impact, yet it is something that that is impactful.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I agree with it's quite hard to measure, and if you decide to go down that path, there are a couple of solutions that you can employ, whether it's doing brand lift studies, whether it's doing search lift studies, but sometimes they tend to be quite pricey because of the investment that needs to go into it. So it can be quite hard to measure brand or rather branding awareness, top of the funnel. However, you can't also ignore the role that it plays. What we believe in is it's no longer about brand or performance. It is brand times performance. You need to put the two together. You need to invest in your brand, because in the long run, what it allows you to do is it allows you to lower your costs and more to not depend on paid media in that context, or paying for clicks, as you put it. So, and that's something we've seen with some of the brands that we're working with. Those that have built really, really strong brands tend to benefit long term.
I agree.
And so you need to do it. You need to have that branding. You need to be known. You need to build those communities. And it doesn't have to be splurging on all the billboards in town. It can be something as simple as investing on TikTok. Getting content creators to do amazing content for you, jumping on virality. And you know how TikTok works. Just one video to go viral, and that's it. And you'd enjoy the benefits of that for quite a long time. What we believe is it's brand times performance. You need to invest in the brand.
Would you say that there's money in tech marketing? And the genesis of my question is coming from people's spending power within the markets that you're predominantly established. You've also mentioned that you work with bigger brands, ideally. But what is it now? The people who are a bit mid-tier or just starting out, and someone who wants a career in marketing. Would you say that this is an opportunity that someone should also look into?
Yeah.
Primarily tech marketing, but marketing in general from the lens of growth.
Yeah.
What would you say onto that?
So Africa has a very young population, and I don't want to bore with stats. I think it's a very cliche thing. We keep talking about it. Africa is the next big thing and all that. But the reality is, if you look at digital adoption, it's growing, and it's growing quite quickly. There are markets that are, whether it comes to mobile device penetration, more specifically smartphone penetration, you can clearly see that Africa has a big opportunity, and that is the role that a tech marketer can play, whatever can come in and play. So the opportunity is there, and it'll keep getting bigger because of the population that's within the African context. But as we do this, there are a couple of problems that need to be solved. And so similar to the way, I tend to see, from where I see startups build the rails that a lot of, companies would ride on.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things that need to be done in the digital space to still build it. And that is access to cheap internet, access to cheap devices from a smartphone point of view, because look, we have mobile phone penetration, but our smartphone penetration in some of the markets is still growing compared to a developed market. So that, and then talent. And now that's where tech marketer can come in. You can take your time to, there's so many resources out there if you just take the time to learn. I mean, by the time we're shooting this podcast, someone like Asana is offering free certifications that normally you'd pay $300 for. So getting access to such things, I think, can elevate you and put you in a different space. You need to differentiate yourself. You need to, because growth is very simple. It's about numbers. Mm-hmm. If you show the numbers will speak for themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, as we wrap up this episode, I have a few couple closing questions that I want to run by you.
Yes.
The first one being, what do you foresee for the future of marketing and growth marketing in general from your analysis?
Yeah. I think more and more brands are going to spend a lot, are going to move their spend from traditional to digital. That's already happening, and it's pretty exciting. So that's going to happen. There's going to be a need for more specifically tech marketers that are data-driven and have an understanding of, you need to, as a tech marketer, you just don't need to understand marketing, you also need to know the tech.
Understand the tech and products.
So being able to understand how do you build these tech stacks, what expertise is needed to execute that tech stack, because there's a lot out there. There is, if I'm looking at an app only, from a measurement point of view, maybe something as simple as a mobile measurement partner, which is normally SDKs that are integrated into your mobile app, or something as complicated as a customer data platform that allows you to ingest all your customer data and to unify it and to know that Brian is a customer who prefers using our app at this specific time, and this is when you can send them push notifications or communicate with them, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in that space, and I think more and more there's going to be brands, as brands move into there, there's going to be a need for people to execute it.
Okay, I agree. What's one word that you would use to describe your journey to get to where you are today, and why?
Interesting. I would say one word. I'd say I'd probably use roller coaster as the word to explain it. Mm-hmm. It's been exciting. It has its ups and downs, but the fulfillment of it all is when you work with a brand and you clearly see the impact of your work on it. on the bottom line, that for me is that makes me sleep at night.
Yeah,
That's
I really
the
like
feeling.
that. I feel the same way now that I
Yeah.
decided to also take the leap of faith and
Yeah.
start my own business as well.
Yeah.
The final question that I have for you is, I don't know if it's a question and more of a statement, but how would you like to close off your episode?
I'd like to probably close off by, one, thanking you for the opportunity to be on the podcast. I think you're building an amazing platform.
Thank you.
And for all tech enthusiasts out there, I'd love to say that the opportunity is there. There's a big opportunity in the space. You need to invest in yourself so that when you decide to get into the market, you're buyable, for the lack of a better word. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Invest in yourself, invest in trainings, certifications, just bring in that knowledge, because every single day there's a new thing coming up. And the difference between you and someone else is going to be your understanding of it, not just using it. It's you understanding whether I should use it or not.
Thank you so much, Brian. And thank you everyone for tuning in. If you reached this far into the episode, thank you so much. Please make sure that you're subscribed from wherever you're listening from, following My Tech Story Africa on all the major social media platforms. And of course, if you want to reach out to Abel, you can do so by...
You can reach out to me on email, brian@welcometomorrow.io, or find me on LinkedIn, Brian Abel.
And how can they reach out to Welcome Tomorrow?
To reach out to Welcome Tomorrow, just go to our website, welcometomorrow.io. We have a digital maturity assessment test on the website.
Nice.
If you want to do it for yourself, and that would put you in touch with us. And follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, on all socials as Welcome Tomorrow. We build some amazing content on TikTok, which is, if
I
you're
see
interested,
some of the content.
Yeah. And we have an amazing newsletter where we share a lot of our knowledge. So on Substack, feel free to also subscribe to that.
Exactly. And while you are checking out their website, make sure you take some time and check out mtsafrica.co. That is our website built in partnership with Division. And yes, with that being said, I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye.